This hour is brought to you by Jeremy Temple Law Office of Bloomington. Personal injury, criminal, business, whatever you need, Jeremy Temple Law Office will get you taken care of.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Well, come on along and welcome aboard here on this Thursday, February 27. Indiana Sports Speed on. A little shorter version of today. Jake's actually on the clock going to the combine today, so we have to alter our schedule a bit. You'll have to wait till tonight to hear from Todd. But on the program today, Taylor Lehman from Indiana Rivals is going to join us. Dustin DePirick as well from The Athletic. Looking forward to talking to both of those guys as tonight Indiana travels to West Lafayette to take on the Boilermakers in a very important Big Ten game. The Hoosiers have an opportunity to get yet another quad one win and really separate themselves from the bottom of that mess at the Big Ten. And last night, some incredible games in the conference last night we'll talk about as well. But man, Rutgers and Penn State, Maryland, Minnesota, both last-second games, 1-point games. Things are picking up, man. It's that time of year. It is that time of year as we get closer and closer to the tournament. We're starting to get this tournament style of play. And last night's games were no short of giving us that. Rutgers and Penn State, Rutgers had been horrible on the road. I think they won one game so far this season. Penn State's one of the top teams in the conference. They go in there and they build up a nice 21-point lead. Rutgers is down 21 in this game. They come back, but they end up losing on a go-ahead three-pointer with 28 seconds left by Miles Dredd. Penn State escapes over Rutgers, and as you heard Todd talk about just the other day, Rutgers is in a bad position here as far as their schedule laid out. Todd thinks that they can lose these last games, and that's very possible. And if they do, they can work themselves right out of the tournament. They have been a tournament darling, but that could change. They could lose their last 3 games I think they have left now, because that was one that they had and had an opportunity to steal, and what a gigantic win that would have been for them. A road win, that would have been a quad 1A road win. You heard Todd talk about that the other day. Now that we've got quad 1s, A's, and B's. But that would have been a 1A on the road in a top 15 team, whatever Penn State is. Gigantic it would have been. Then other Maryland. You got a team in Maryland who's leading the Big Ten Conference. They were up by 2 games on the road at Minnesota, and Minnesota was in command of that game. And they had a 17-point lead, as I'm trying to quickly scroll down to get to that one so I can get all the juice out of it. But I watched both of those games, and Minnesota squandered. They had opportunities at the free throw line, which is exactly what Rutgers can look at. They shot 53% from the free throw line last night. We talk about that with Indiana. Well, Minnesota last night, they had a 1-and-1 at the end of the game. Missed it. Gave Maryland the opportunity, and Maryland goes down and hits the game-winning 3. They were down by double digits most of the game and down by 8 around the 2-minute mark. But they did not quit, man. They kept going, and Maryland – to me, Maryland just won the Big Ten Conference. That's what that was right there. That win on the road, that comeback, man, you talk about solidifying something. They definitely did it. Definitely did it. We'll talk about that a lot more with Taylor and Dustin on the program today. Some other stuff. We talked about the Houston Astros stuff a little bit. Here's a little side note, kind of funny. Spring training has begun, and the Astros have played 5 games. Guess how many Houston Astro players have been hit already? 7. There's already been 7 Astro players hit in 5 games. Hey, hit us up on the text line if you'd like, 812-269-6367. That's 812-269-6367. As Taylor Lehman from Indiana Rivals will be joining us today. Dustin DePerick from The Athletic, of course, talking about Indiana as they prepare for the Boilers tonight up in West Lafayette. Huge opportunities for both of these teams. Purdue is on life support. Their tournament hopes are on life support. Their record is around 500, but they're very good in the matrix. All the matrix loves Purdue, but if you don't have the record, they don't care. So Purdue has to basically win out here. They absolutely cannot afford to lose this game. This will not kill Indiana. It would be great for them to pick this win up because this would be a quad one win. But it won't kill them. But I think that Indiana's been playing pretty well. We've talked about this. They've been playing a lot better. Defense has gotten better. Offense has gotten better. Rotations have gotten smaller. Things are just better than they were the last time around. Archie Miller, as a matter of fact, I asked him with Race Thompson. You know, Race is playing so much better, and I don't think that he was a factor in the last game. But yesterday we met with Archie, and I asked him, having Race, a healthy Race, that he's playing like this now, what does that give to you as the Indiana Hoosiers head to Purdue?
Well, I think Purdue, the first time we played him, may have been Race's first time back, and he wasn't 100% coming back at that time. And he wasn't as effective as he's been in some of these other contests that we've played. But I think everyone's seen the value of Race's physicality. He brings it per minute play. He's probably per minute played our best rebounder. He gives you hustle plays. He gives you a guy that kind of knows what he's doing out there in terms of his role. And he's playing really hard. He gives you another guy out there that's competing at a pretty high level. And, from a defensive standpoint, he gives us some mobility. Again, we're able to guard, him alongside another big guy, or he's able to take the other big guy at times. He's not, completely oversized, but, for the most part, Reese has done a great job for us all season. I think he's playing career best basketball. It was unfortunate his spill sort of against Michigan State sort of derailed him for a week or so. 2 weeks, he ended up missing at least the Penn State, Ohio State game, and he came back at Purdue. Like I said, he wasn't ready. But got another week, sort of, and then got Iowa, and I thought from Iowa on, he sort of picked up where he left off. So it was good to see he didn't have a spell and then really have a hard time getting out of it. So, but it'll play a big role for us coming down the stretch. I mean, rebounding and defense is, obviously the utmost importance. And like I said, playing with a high motor right now defensively, he's given us a chance to kind of get better. We were probably as good in back-to-back settings this past week defensively as we've been maybe all season long. And I think Race's minutes played is probably a big reason why.
Coach Archie Miller is talking about Race Thompson having him back and how he's playing career best basketball. Man, you love to hear that. That is what you wanted. But that's what we've seen. That's exactly what we've seen. Dude, they knock him down, he gets hurt, he comes back, and he keeps coming back stronger, becoming a much, much more important player as the season comes to a close. I think we also – do you have Race, Jake? I think we also have Race Thompson himself. We met with him yesterday as well. Let's hear what the Race had to say.
I mean, I know I had it in me. I think the team knew I had it in me. I don't think it's coming to it's a real surprise to anybody on the team, it's the coaches, the players, or anybody. I mean, it's every day in practice, just a confidence thing when it comes to games. And I've said just confidence is really the main thing.
Okay, anything else?
Confidence is the main thing. Race Thompson, he's got it, man. He's playing with confidence. This entire team is playing with confidence right now because they're playing better defense. Their offense is flowing better. And they look good as they head to West Lafayette. Way better than they did last time. Archie talked about that the last time that he played, they just didn't bring it. They weren't a very good team. They did not play well. We all know that. But they are playing well now. And I think this team has an opportunity to go up there. They want to get a win like this because of how they're playing now with that confidence. They know that they need to deliver, but they also know what it would mean to get a win there. They haven't beaten Purdue under Archie. They'd love to get him a win, no doubt. And what better place to do that than in West Lafayette? But more importantly, that would just – I think that that would catapult this team right now. This team is sitting at a position, man, where they're playing so well, and all it takes is a spark, and this could be that spark. If they can go up there and get that win, and I know that they can, it's a tough place to play. It's a tough ask. Purdue plays awfully well there. Awfully well. It will take a Herculean effort. But we've been seeing that from this team here of late. And that's all you can ask for. Because we know that when they do play that way, they have the talent. And the talent is starting to shine through more and more. Trace Jackson Davis, my goodness, as Archie also talked about yesterday, National Freshman of the Week. The dude's becoming a beast. 9 double-doubles, coming off of back-to-back performances of that nature. Was it 27 and 16 he had against Penn State? That's like Todd said, those are Allen Henderson numbers. Those are just gargantuan numbers. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a senior. You're playing against one of the best teams in the conference, and that's what you put up? Wow. Yeah, in his last game, he had 13 and 10. The game before that, it just next year, he is going to be the player of the year in the Big Ten. There's no doubt in my mind. He's got some competition for freshman of the year right now. I know all Hoosier fans want Trace Jackson Davis. They're pulling for him, and rightfully so. Kofi Coburn at Illinois had a good season too. But Illinois is kind of quiet. They've kind of been in, I don't know, maybe stuck in neutral a little bit right now. You're not hearing a lot from them. You're going to get an opportunity to see Indiana play them here soon. Sunday, we'll see Trace Jackson Davis, Kofi Coburn. Not sure they'll be guarding each other, but very likely. But we will see the two best freshmen in the Big Ten on Sunday. Definitely looking forward to that. I think Trace Jackson Davis is looking forward to that. I think he's starting to get his sea legs. He's relishing these opportunities. To me, that's how it looks like when he's playing right now. But because he is playing with a lot more, not only confidence, but man, he's hunting the rim. He's hunting to score. He's hunting rebounds. He is just feeding off of his own play, which is not good news for your opponents. And especially as Race Thompson gets better, as Justin Smith is starting to really grow into his role, that just makes life difficult for other teams down in the paint because those are three talented guys. Very talented. Indiana's guard play, if that can come around, and that's what you need. Once you can get everything to start matching, it's Katie bar the door, man. Katie bar the door because they are getting better. That's something we haven't seen in the first two seasons under Archie. Those teams did not get better at the end of the season. It looked as though this team was heading in that same direction. Well, they were. But they've done what a lot of teams have done and made that turnaround. Michigan, Ohio State, both teams that were heading south had plummeted below Indiana in the conference standings, have both rebounded and bounced up. Indiana, I think they're on their way back. I do, and I really believe they can go into Purdue tonight and win that game. They're a 7-point underdog. Ken Pom says 32% chance of winning, which is accurate. It is accurate. But I think that if Indiana can just hit some shots, it's hitting shots just changes their game immensely. If Devontae goes up there and gets hot, how much do you think he would relish that? You think that dude couldn't tune him out? I promise you, he will feed on that more than anybody if he hits that shot. If he don't, you have to hope it doesn't go the other way, that they get into his head. And that's something, and that's a lot of times how these games go, man. They're dictated by how it happens. That's why they play the games. We got a lot coming up here on the program today. Taylor Lehman from Indiana Rivals is going to join us next. TheHoosier.com. Dustin DePirick from The Athletic is on with us as well. Lots to talk about as the Hoosiers travel to West Lafayette to take on the Boilermakers tonight. We're talking about it when we come back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on Indiana Sports Beat. Back after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moyer.
This is Dan Dawkins.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafe.gov.
Hey, it's Michael Lewis, former Indiana University player and current UCLA assistant basketball coach, and you're listening to Indy Sports Beat.
This guest by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You get a $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat here on this Thursday. Joined now by our good friend Taylor Lehman from Indiana Rivals. Taylor, how are you, man?
I'm good. How are you doing, Jim?
Cannot complain, man. Big day for Indiana as they head up to West Lafayette tonight. A gigantic opportunity, but actually for both teams I've talked about because Indiana in a different position. They can need to elevate themselves out of the bottom and increase their NCAA seed line. But Purdue, their talent, their tournament hopes are on life support right now. They have to win.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. It's they've lost their last 4 games and 2 of those being at home. That was obviously when you're playing teams like Penn State and Michigan at home, those are tough games. But dropping 2 in a row at Mackey with an upward trending Indiana team coming in today, Purdue's kind of a sticky situation here.
Yeah, like I said, they're tournament hopes. And that's even if they even still have tournament hopes. The reason I even say that is because their metrics are so high. And a lot of times we look at these metrics, especially the net rankings. They're hard to figure. But if Purdue would have to basically win out to get in, Indiana, to me, is in. I think they can go 2-2. Losing this game is not going to kill them, and losing at Illinois is not going to kill them. But then they have to win those final 2 games to stay pretty much where they are right now.
Right. The biggest thing for Indiana today is just trying to stay out of that day one Big Ten tournament seeding. The seeding is the biggest thing involved here for Indiana when it comes to that. Because I agree with you. I think Indiana could go 2-2 and still make the tournament. That losing this game doesn't necessarily put a bad loss on Indiana's resume that would potentially keep them out of the NCAA tournament. But I definitely think if you're Indiana, you're looking to make some type on the 10 tournament, you're looking to avoid a bad loss there on that first day. I think you kind of need Purdue today to avoid a situation like that.
Yeah, because Indiana's sitting right outside of that bottom 4, whatever you want to call it. The first day play, the first Wednesday gamers. Right now they're sitting right above that, so they have. But I can talk about they've got the 2 home games to end the season. But one of those is against Wisconsin, and one of the other one's against a Minnesota team. Who, man, did they lose a tough one last night, Taylor?
Yeah.
Did you watch that game? Wow,
I did.
You got a feel for them, but I mean, golly, they had it. They let that one slip away.
Yeah, no, they did. They did. That's a tough look for Richard Pitino up there too. But winning in the barn is not easy. I mean, Maryland, even though it was close, and I think it was Mark Titus that he was doing a bit on Twitter where he was talking about Maryland going down by 20 and coming back and winning against a team that might not make the tournament. But winning in the barn isn't easy. Indiana went in there and won a tough game. They had to kind of redirect their entire direction of the season to win that game. So, no, I think when you look at Minnesota losing that game, it helps Indiana because it if Minnesota would have won that game, they're a half game behind Indiana and Rutgers and Ohio State. All those teams are tied. And I think Ohio State's only going to move upward. Rutgers has that ability to move upward as well. But keeping Purdue and Minnesota down there and those bottom 4 teams is really crucial. And that's why today's game is so important, because Indiana's 1.5 games out of 12th place, but they're 2 games out of 4th place. So there's this the logjam. I can't get over it. The logjam in the middle of the Big Ten is insane right now. Yeah,
that may be one of the craziest all-time stats. A game and a half out of 12th and 2 games out of 4th. It's not. But yeah, and you mentioned Rutgers, another team who lost a heartbreaker last night. They were down 21 points, Taylor, and they climbed back on the road where they have sucked. They'd won 1 game all season. That was the big knock on them. And here they're up down 21, climb back, and then they lose on a late 3 to Penn State, which, man, that would have been a bad loss for Penn State and a great win for Rutgers.
Yeah, no, it would have. And also talk about, giving the Big Ten to Maryland at that point, but
there you go.
I mean, a lot of people are saying that Maryland, they're going to run away with the Big Ten at this point. But I just don't. And it's still on the Rutgers point that you're making too. But Maryland, there's still a chance for Maryland to drop this thing. Maryland has to go. They still have to go to Rutgers, and we know how well Rutgers has been playing at home. But there's who are the other teams? They have to play. I believe they have to play Michigan State as well, and it's not an easy. These last 3 games are not an easy road ahead for Maryland. I'm looking at their schedule. Yeah, Michigan State and Michigan. They play both Michigan State and Michigan, and they have to go on the road to Rutgers. So they're going to have to win some really important games here at the end of the season to hold on to the Big Ten. But no, and then whenever you talk about Maryland on the Indiana beat, then you consider that game where Indiana, they were up by 7 with 2 minutes to go. That would have been a huge game, but either way, you can't go back and change things. And there's just observations I've made recently that I've been thinking about.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And then getting back to tonight's game, Indiana Purdue, matchup wise, a little bit different. Yesterday we met with Coach Miller. You were there as well, and one of the things I asked him was about having Race Thompson back. Race Thompson has been such a huge help to this team and their turnaround or their improvement. They've decreased the rotation. The guys are Justin Smith seems to be fitting more into his role. All the Devontae and Al Durham and all those guys, they really seem to be, their roles are more defined now. Race Thompson and has really been efficient when he's been in there. But the Trace and Race show has been pretty popular with folks, but that's going to be a great boost when they go up to West Lafayette tonight.
Yeah, no, I was actually just writing up my preview about the game tonight. I was writing about Race Thompson. I was looking at KenPom.com, and KenPom has a feature I'm sure most people know, but it kind of takes the percentage of lineups that are on the court at any given time in the past 5 games. And in the past 5 games, lineups containing Race Thompson at the 4, which the 2 most popular lineups are switching Al Durham and Devontae Green at the 2. Those lineups are on the floor 20% of the time, and the starting lineup itself is on the floor 16% of the time. So, Joey Brunk is kind of being faded out. I don't think he's going to be. I don't think he is going to become irrelevant. I think he's going to be needed at some point, Joey Brunk. But his minutes are being faded out as Race Thompson plays well. You have to go with the guys that are getting you wins and bringing that physicality that wasn't there. But I mean, Joey Brunk, he's played 40 minutes in the last 4 games, and it's one of those situations where Trace Jackson Davis seems to get a lot of offensive opportunity at the 5. He's played well there in the last couple of games. Race Thompson brings that physicality. He can move around in ways that I don't think Joey Brunk can. But in this, as the season was moving on, who would have thought that this late in the season, Indiana would kind of live or die by Race Thompson figuring out his role on the floor. I would not have thought that coming into the year.
Absolutely not. And I agree with you. And that's what's making this so special. But and to see him continue to not only contribute, but just to continue to improve and to see this team improve. Not only that, at the same time, Trace Jackson Davis is improving. And I think that's part of the reason. I think it gives him a little more freedom to move around and do the things that he's trying to do in there. Now, of course, you got to give most of the credit to Trace Jackson Davis, and we do. But I do think that improved play by Race is really helping Trace Jackson Davis.
No, I agree. Trace Jackson Davis has been. Just look at the Minnesota game. The Minnesota game, is 27 points, 16 rebounds. That's insane for a freshman. Archie Miller made note of that. Putting up a double-double like that as a freshman is not easy. In the Big Ten, that is not easy. And then also affecting the way that he did in other ways. I mean, he drew a charge at the end to make up for a Devontae Green turnover, and that's not something that a lot of freshman bigs are doing. So. No, you're right. But I also think when Race Thompson's success has contributed and then moving Trace Jackson Davis to the 5, I think that has contributed to the way that the backcourt has been able to be more consistent in the last few games. It just kind of helps with the spacing. It helps open lanes for Al Durham to drive to the basket. Devontae Green found some of those lanes against Penn State. And it just kind of seems like it's taken a lot of the pressure off the backcourt in ways that I think is really important for this team, especially late in the season.
Absolutely. I cannot agree with you more on that. And I'm thinking this team can actually, if they can continue to improve, they can win out. I mean, going to Illinois and winning, that's a tough ask. Going to Purdue and winning is a tough ask. So can they go 2-2? They can absolutely go 2-2, and I would not be surprised. And it wouldn't take them playing bad to do that either because of the situation. But they could go 4-0. I really believe the way they're playing now, they could do that. Not expected, but it's there. It's an opportunity. Right. This team could lift themselves up in that NCAA seed line if they can continue to improve like this.
No, I agree. I think there's the capability of them going 4-0. There's the capability of them going 0-4. If they lose this game to Purdue, how do they react to that? If they have 2 tough road games coming up, just the way it was just before. I mean, the Michigan game when everybody's like, there's no response from this. This team doesn't respond to things. And so it wasn't that long ago when the narrative around the program was that. And so if you pair 2 road games together, and then you have that version of the team that just can't respond in the ways needed, do they win those last 2 games? I mean, I don't know. I think the only way that they miss the tournament at this point is if they lose out completely. I think they can still make the tournament with one win in these last 4 games, but we just don't know. I think these last 4 games are really important in determining, what Indiana can do in the postseason.
Exactly. I think they can go 3-1 and move up a little bit. I think it's likely they could go 2-2 and just kind of stay right where they are right now. I don't see that's the worst case scenario for me. I don't see them losing at home, but I actually think that they can win this game tonight. They can go 3-1, and that would be a really, really good thing for this team.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the most likely outcome is that they do go 2-2, but I do think they could go 3-1, and like you said, they could go 4-0. I mean, it's especially with like I said earlier, how teams have gone into Mackey and won in the last 2 games. So I don't think it's likely that Indiana loses out, and I do think that they can hold serve at home, especially against teams like Minnesota and Wisconsin. Even though Wisconsin is playing fairly well and Minnesota played Maryland tough, I just don't think coming into Assembly Hall that either of those teams is especially if Indiana's clicking like they have been recently. And that's where I understand why Archie Miller is like, I just want to line up all these games and play them like immediately. like I get that, because you just want to get that over with. You want to make sure your team is playing its best basketball at the most important time of the season. And right now it is, and more so than some other Big Ten teams that have been playing well all season. And I think that's important for Indiana.
Yeah, and if Devontae Green can get hot in Mackey Arena tonight, that will there's no player on that Indiana team that would relish that opportunity more, that would probably use it more to his advantage. And I think that it would be a very tough for Purdue to come back if Devontae Green is hot tonight. Yeah,
no, I agree. I think, anytime that Devontae Green can, obviously put up 7 threes like he did against Iowa, I don't think a lot of teams are going to come back from that. But honestly, I mean, Devontae Green hasn't been terrible. I mean, he's hit 3 threes in each of his last 2 games. And it's kind of, gone hand in hand with the idea that you were talking about earlier where like roles are becoming more defined. And I think, and I think kind of Archie Miller's been searching for this out of Devontae Green, not the 7 threes, but just hitting the 3 threes or getting 11 points or 10 points like he has in his last 2 games, and not going not hitting 27 in one game and then getting 2 the next couple of games. Just staying consistent, finding that middle ground. And I think that's kind of where Archie Miller likes to have Devontae Green. Obviously, if Devontae Green goes off and shoots 7, 8 threes, like that's going to be welcomed as well. But what comes along with that. I mean, when he was hitting threes against Penn State, towards the end of the first half, there were some atrocious plays in there where he was looking for a shot, and it really, really log jammed that offense. So I think the best version of this team is when Devontae Green is getting like 2, 3, 4 threes in a game, and because I don't know if Devontae Green is going to be the kind of guy that's going to beat teams by himself, but also have those atrocious plays as well, especially on the road.
Yeah, he's been getting when he gets hot, he's usually he's hitting them in bunches, and that can really cripple you mentally if you're an opponent and a guy comes down and knocks down 3 threes on you right in a row. I mean, that's pretty disheartening.
Yeah, no, especially when Indiana, especially Archie Miller made a comment like, in the second half, Penn State was really tightening up on the inside. He said it was really hard to get in there at the rim, and that started at the end of the first half. And that's why those 3 threes by Devontae Green were so important, because they couldn't get anything going on the inside, but they needed to continue to score points. And that's why Archie Miller said he thought that they could have been leading by 20 at halftime rather than 13, because Penn State just tightened up. Out of that last media timeout of the first half, they got really tight on the inside.
Well, what's your thoughts on the night? Ryan from Whitmore Lake, Michigan, hit the text line. He predicts 66-59 Indiana upset.
Yeah, I like that. I like
that score. I'm looking at that score going, you know what? If it's going to happen, that's a score that it may have to be.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be unless Sasha Stefanovic goes off and I don't know, Aaron Wheeler hits 3 more threes and Indiana has to respond with some threes of its own. I don't think the scoring is going to get too much higher than that. I think that's a really good prediction, 66-59. hadn't really thought about a specific one coming in, but I think I can go with that. I think I'd agree with the 669.
Yeah, why not? Let's roll with it, man. That sounds good. Thanks for the text. Taylor, man, I cannot thank you enough. Joining us from Indiana Rivals, thehoosier.com. Enjoy your trip. Have a safe one up to West Lafayette tonight. And let's hope we got some good stuff to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate having me on, Jim.
You betcha. There's Taylor Lehman from Indiana Rivals, thehoosier.com. Check out all their coverage for the Indiana Hoosiers. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat. We're coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We're back with Dustin DePirick from The Athletic. After this, stay tuned. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3366. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3366.
I'm Ray Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of during the world-famous Windmill Town. Go Hoosiers! Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dawkins.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Hi, this is AJ Moye, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat here on this Thursday. Joined now by our good friend Dustin DePirick from The Athletic. Dustin, how are you, man?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me.
It's fun. This fun time of the year. It's like Christmas for the next 2 months, it seems like, with college basketball. And, man, the games have really gotten there. I'm just talking to Taylor Lehman a minute ago. But, man, how about those Big Ten games last night, Dustin, between Rutgers, Penn State, Maryland, Minnesota? It's tournament time style games, man.
Yeah, no, it totally is. It's getting really wild. I think another game that I thought was really interesting, was Michigan State Iowa the other night. Michigan State really had to rally back to win that one. That was a heck of a play game. And obviously last night, like you said, Minnesota up by a bunch. Maryland rallies back on the road. That was something special. Penn State really holds on against Rutgers when Rutgers really made a charge there to try to make a game out of that thing. So yeah, I mean, I think it's especially the last couple. You're starting to see road teams fighting too. I think that's an issue you saw for a while was home teams just blowing out teams on the road. It's starting to even up a little bit. Teams are starting to realize who they are, what they're fighting for, basically how important it is to go get a road win. You're seeing some really well played basketball games lately.
Did Maryland pretty much? Do you think that they won the Big Ten Conference last night?
Probably.
Yeah,
What are they? I mean, what, they have a 3-game? They have a 3-game lead now.
Yeah, is it 3?
2.5? I'm like,
I knew they were. I think it's 2.5. They were up 2 already. So yeah, but yeah.
I think that did it. Go ahead.
Just winning on the road like that, even though it was Minnesota, and when you're down that much, I mean, that was their biggest comeback in 10 years. So they're really playing good basketball right now, Dustin.
No, they really are, and they've really put it together better than really anybody else has. I mean, that's a big lead to have going down the stretch at this point. But no, I mean they weren't playing well at all early in that game, and I wasn't watching it super closely, but you kept seeing that score creep a little bit closer and a little bit closer, and the next thing you know, Morsell's hitting that shot, and you're like, "What? How did this happen?" But yeah, I mean, they're really playing well. And they've got a lot of talent. They had a lot of talent from the beginning. It just seemed like early, they, like a lot of teams, were having a really difficult time getting anything down the road. And Minnesota, even though that's just an okay team, is still not an easy team to beat on the road. That's not an easy place to win, and they were really good at home for a while. So them being able to again rally back, like they did, just keep making shots and just keep getting fighting their way back into it. It says a lot for just the toughness that program is starting to show. That team is starting to show. You haven't always seen that from Maryland. But I think, you've really seen that team, grow up this season a whole heck of a lot, and they're starting to round into a team that really belongs in that upper echelon discussion. I don't think they're going to get a 1 seed, but I mean, they can be in the discussion for a 2 and certainly get a 3, at least. So they're in really good shape, I think, obviously going into March.
Yeah, I agree with you. And a team that is kind of in some peril, which I thought was as secure as anybody to get into the tournament a month ago. Rutgers. Todd mentioned the other day, he pointed out that he was looking at the schedule and said, man, they can lose those last 4 games or whatever. And then, of course, last night, they're horrible on the road, and they had an opportunity to steal a gigantic win on the road at Penn State after overcoming that 21-point deficit. Man, your heart breaks for them because that may do you in, and they could actually play themselves out. I would never have believed it, but they can play themselves out of the tournament.
They could, but I'd still be really surprised. They've got a bunch of really good wins, and I think, they're going to have to, who's coming in to play them at home? I don't have their schedule in front of me.
Oh, I don't.
Who they got left?
On it.
I'd be surprised. I mean, again, they've got some big wins. They've been really tough to beat at the rack. And their home record's just terrific. And obviously the road record, matters a lot more. That says what you can do outside of your own building. But I'd just be surprised if they got left out. I really would. I mean, they'd have to have the bottom fall out on them. I mean, and it matters playing games close. I mean, they still managed to rally back and play Penn State close. That's something that doesn't look bad on, that's not a bad loss. For the committee basically to look at and say, okay, you were down a bunch, but you fought back and you only get beat by 1 at Penn State. That's not a bad game. I'd be surprised if they play themselves out. I really would. And I'm trying to think of the records on the top of my head.
They've got their last two games, they're at home to Maryland is their next game on Tuesday. And then they travel to Purdue. And I think they have a good shot to win that last game on the road there at Purdue.
Yeah, they do. Especially, I think it depends on what Purdue does tonight. Purdue's they're absolutely fighting for their lives, and if they don't win this one, I think if you're, you might see Purdue start to I don't want to say pack it in because those guys are tough. Those guys are, they have a lot of pride, and they're not going to go quietly and get beat by anybody. But if Purdue has some negative momentum, I think it would be. It's not an easy game for them to win with Rutgers at home, but it's difficult for them. Purdue's really good at Mackey, so but that's tough. Yeah, I'd still be surprised to see Rutgers play their way out. I really would.
Yeah, if Purdue lost tonight, I think that would pretty much be their death nail because they then have to turn around and go to Iowa, and there's no way I see them beating Iowa on the road, even though they can play Rutgers.
Yeah.
But man, if they lose tonight, I think Purdue is done.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. But they can win that game. And they obviously haven't been unbeatable at Mackey. They've got a couple really bad losses at home. The Penn State, Michigan, and Illinois. So they have not been perfect at Mackey, but they can still get up and they can make some shots. The biggest thing really with Purdue is when they make shots, they've got a chance. And they don't have it. They don't have really a lot of consistent offensive forces. But when they get everybody clicking, they're really tough to beat, and that can happen at Mackey, and it can happen fast. This is the thing too, is that when a couple of those guys get going and everybody else starts playing better and the defense starts picking up on the other side, a lot of things get better when they make shots, and they tend to, shoot a lot better at Mackey than they do on the road. So that gives them an opportunity, and I don't want to rule them out against Iowa just because, man, they blew their doors off at Mackey, just absolutely smashed them. It was incredible. So Iowa leaves open the possibility, and again, they're certainly a lot better at Carver Hawkeye than they are anyplace else. But if on the flip side, that I do think they're Purdue's probably dead and buried if they lose tonight. If they win and then they go on the road, and get Iowa, they're kind of back in the discussion again. So, don't want to rule them out completely.
Oh, yeah, no one. You can rule no one out completely, especially in the Big Ten
True.
with the metrics that they have. How about this Indiana team, the turnaround that we've seen in them the last two games? I've been very impressed with their resilience, their growth, maturity. I saw them against Minnesota, go down, have to fight back, lose leads, and do the things that you want to see a team do. They did it again in a bigger fashion against Penn State. And so they seem to have some maturity growth. The rotations are smaller now. Guys are really finding the roles to be more defined. Race Thompson's play is really helped elevate this team. I think he gives Trace Jackson Davis room to do the things that he's doing as well. And man, his play is just unbelievable.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Those two guys in the front court have really, I think, changed the mentality here. Trace Jackson Davis, I think, really got a wake up call after the Michigan game when Archie Miller said, "Hey, our best players got to be able to travel, and you're just not here." Minnesota really woke him up. You could tell that he was really motivated for that game and carried that over into Penn State, even though he wasn't as effective, missed some bunnies at the rim, was still playing tough, playing physical, playing with an edge. And I think that's really something. I mean, he's been pretty good all year, but he just seems more determined right now. And Race Thompson, absolutely, I think, has always really been a determined, tough kid. When they play them two together, I mean, it's obviously a difficult call to figure out what to do with Trace because he's probably better as a 5 at the college level. But if he's going to be an NBA player, he's got to be a power forward. So Archie Miller's obviously had to try to balance that and balance the fact that, he's got a, tough player in Joey Brunk and getting some minutes for Deron Davis. So, I mean, he went and got some guys to play the 5 so that Trace could play the 4, and he's got to give those dudes some minutes. But it does seem like the most effective lineup he's putting out there has, Race Thompson at the 4 and Trace Jackson Davis at the 5. Those guys, makes them a lot more athletic. Makes them better defensively, makes them a better rebounding team, I think. And really better offensively. They can really get going in transition with those guys because they can move. So those guys have really been playing well. But no, I think that the growth and maturity, I think, is a really big point. I think that you saw them cave in earlier in the season. Really, even going back to that Michigan, they absolutely just fell apart in that game. There's at a certain point, it just seemed like when they would fall behind in games, they wouldn't really get back up and wouldn't really deal with the adversity well. But they really have done that in the last couple games. I mean, especially the Penn State game to build that huge lead and blow it all in the first 5 minutes of the second half and then get it back together and hold on. It shows that get a lot of toughness, a lot of maturity, a lot of ability to say, okay, all right, don't collapse here. You've lost the whole lead, but the game's not over. It's just kind of a new basketball game. Start over. And a lot of times young teams can't do that well. When they see it all slip away, they think, oh man, we're falling apart tonight. What do we do? And they did a good job of answering the bell. I thought Race again was really key in that. I think he had a couple big buckets right there, and some tough, grimy plays, a couple offensive rebounds to keep some things going, and that really, again, kept Indiana from falling apart. So, they're I think a lot better at dealing with those situations now than they were even a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I agree. And then tonight, as we look at this game, who's there are players that have the roles that just disappeared. Guys like Demezy Anderson, and we've seen Joey Brunk's role get smaller and smaller. He was such an important part of this team in the beginning of the season, but it's amazing to see guys' roles, how they have completely changed in certain situations.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Brunk is still a guy that they're going to need, depending on certain. It's really a matchup thing with Brunk. I think is what it comes down to. I mean, he's just not as athletic as Race Thompson is, but he's still a bigger guy. And when you're going to need to deal with a true, real deal big man, you're going to need some Joey Brunk, and I think they're going to need some Joey Brunk in this game. With Matt Harms and Travion Williams being out there. I mean, there's just not a lot of other guys have the body to handle those two. And Brunk is one of those guys that do. So I think he's going to have to contribute. I think he did some things well early on in the last Purdue game. It ended up getting away from him, and they kind of fell apart. But I think Brunk helped out in that game. Now Race Thompson matters too, and Trace does as well. But Joey Brunk is going to have to make some contributions if they're going to have a chance in this game for sure. Demezy just hasn't, you just haven't seen him. And it was the same last year, when it came to Big Ten play. At a certain point, he just didn't have anything to offer. Now, I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what's going on in practice, but we're not seeing him in games. So it just does not seem like Demezy has made the strides that you need to make in 2 years as a Big Ten player to be able to show that he's got a lot of value in the rotation. I mean, Archie Miller said he needed to shrink it a little bit. And, the one guy who's really been taken out of it is Demezy Anderson. He's only really come out in desperation positions or in games, situations where the game's already been over one way or the other. So I think that's obviously a pretty big disappointment. A guy who was obviously a really good player in high school at South Bend Riley. And, has a skill set that you think that would have been able to really help them. A guy that's a good outside shooter, strong win. He's got just sort of the body and the skill set for it, but just never really put it all together, so far in the second season in Indiana.
And then, of course, I can't let you go without asking you about the commitment of Christian Lander. Surprised a lot of us, but man, that is gigantic for Archie Miller.
No, it really is. I think the big thing, obviously, Romeo Langford and Trace Jackson Davis get you started, but when to go, it gets tougher to recruit when the honeymoon's over. It gets tougher to recruit when you have a record and you've had ups and downs, you've had disappointments. Obviously, it's not a situation where you were going to bury Archie based on what he's done, but hasn't been to a tournament yet. Looks like I'm trying to go this year. But to have some disappointments, to have it not be just sort of a rocket to the top, that's when it becomes tough to get these blue chip kids, even keeping them in state. So when you're able to kind of weather the storm a little bit and still get a 5-star recruit, it's a really big deal. And yeah, Lander is going to be able to bring some things that they're not going to have elsewhere on the roster. It's going to make for an interesting discussion in terms of him and Rob Fennessy and who's going to start, whether that's next year or the year after. But he's an electric player. Obviously he's got some size he needs to add. He's only 165 pounds, but the kid's got just so much speed, so much explosiveness, really fast end to end. And again, just really difficult to keep away from the rim off the dribble. Really good shooter, left-handed kid. Just such a smooth player. And again, there's just going to be, we're losing Devontae Green for all his, erraticness. It's going to take some scoring punch out of the backcourt, and Christian Lander, when he returns, is going to bring a lot of it back really instantly. I think he's going to be a really good defender at the college level because I think he's going to care about it more. I think he's just really fast, really quick, and a guy that can cause a lot of turnovers and cause a lot of havoc. So I think he can be an extremely dynamic player for Indiana.
Dustin, I cannot thank you enough, brother, for joining us as always. I know you're heading to West Lafayette tonight, so have a safe trip, and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Sounds good. Anytime. Thanks for having me.
You betcha. There's Dustin DePerick from The Athletic. Make sure you check him out on Twitter and follow him with that. But greatly appreciate Dustin joining us here on the program today on this Thursday as Indiana takes on Purdue tonight up in West Lafayette. You know what that means? After the game with Todd Leary is coming to you, we'll be live from Yogi's. As always, I think this is a 7 o'clock tip, so that puts us around the 9 o'clock mark. Looking forward to it. I think this is going to be – if Indiana wins this game, I can tell you right now, this will be our biggest show to date. The last game is our biggest one so far. But, yeah, if Indiana wins this game, my goodness, we may have to stay on for 2 hours. But looking forward to that. But big thanks to Jake again, as always. He's heading up to the Combine today, so we're cutting things a little short. We had to adjust our schedule today a little bit, so I hope he has fun there as well. And then make sure you tune in tonight. And then tomorrow on the program, Charlie Miller, former Hoosier basketball player. And I got a big surprise coming for you guys on Monday, but I'm going to wait till tomorrow to tell you about that one. But make sure you join us. We appreciate you joining us here on the program. As always, until tonight, after the game of Todd Leary live from Yogi's. Thanks a lot to Jake. I'm Jim Coyle from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. I will see you on the radio.